Hey everybody, welcome back to Just Keep Parenting. Um, I'm grateful that you joined us. This is a channel where we just have reminders, right? Because all of us are helpers, as Mr. Rogers talks about. We're all helpers of children. We're all champions of children. And he told us to look for the helpers. So I, for one, appreciate all the helping that goes on with children. We're talking about a book. We're talking about Conscious Discipline, Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline, the 7 basic skills for turning conflict into cooperation. And so I just want to share a couple more ideas from that book today. If you're following along in the book, we're on pages 93 to 95. We've been talking recently about aggression versus and passivity versus assertiveness, and how we can be more assertive with our children so that they understand. There's a whole series of videos on using the language of children, right? But we've kind of moved into this turning conflict into cooperation at this point, but there's a lot of videos back in the back that you can go look at. So today we're going to talk about tattling, right? Because last week we talked a little bit about the I messages that we can give children, right? Because we're assertive and yet they still don't listen, right? Because that's part of their not their goal, but that's part of their journey, right? In development is to resist things. So we talked about I messages, and now today we're going to talk about tattling, because tattling, we don't love tattling. Right? We're like, oh, seriously? But I'm here to tell you that tattling is a wonderful teaching opportunity if we take it as a teaching opportunity, right? And so they as the children, they continually struggle to establish boundaries with other children, right? We're all kind of like, okay, I've got this boundary, and we have boundaries in our home, we have boundaries in our relationship, but we have learned how to set them, right? They haven't yet. So it's something that they need to be taught. So if we're passive or aggressive with children when setting limits, then guess what? They're going to be passive and aggressive with each other, okay? So when a child tattles, what they're saying really is, I'm clueless. I'm clueless how to handle this. Help me, right? That's them reaching out, but they don't know how to say that yet. So our job as the helper in their life, right, is to, boom, recognize this as a teaching opportunity and go forward and help them, right? We're going to help you. I'm the helper that you need. Sometimes we say things like, did you hit? You know better than that. How would you like her to hit you? Now it's your turn to hit her, right? So we're modeling that aggression again, right? You two better stop fighting. I don't want to hear it. Any more fighting and the video game goes on vacation, right? We're thinking as an adult thinks. We have to think like a child who doesn't know how to handle these problems that come their way, right? One time we might say, what happened? That's a really great start, right? One child tells their story, and then the parent makes the decision, right? You girls take turns. Don't say it again, right? Rather than saying, sweetie, why don't you tell me what happened, right? And the other child's like, well, and I'm like, you know what? It's her turn to talk, and as soon as she tells me her story, then you get a chance to tell your story. And then we talk about, okay, so here's the problem, right? I restate it. So this is the problem. You wanted to play with this trike. You have the trike. It's only a 1-seater. We have 2-seaters, but you chose the 1-seater. You wanted the same trike. So we do have a problem, don't we? How are we going to solve this problem, right? And as I'm talking, right, and restating, it is amazing because the kids usually started in the brainstem because they're frustrated, right? But while I'm talking and restating the problem, usually they have come back to their thinking brain, right? And they're like, oh, I can get a 2-seater. Okay, well, that's one way we could solve the problem. Are there any other ways we could solve the problem? Well, I could go first and then you could go second, right? And they essentially solve their own problems after the tattling. So you guys, next time a problem happens, then you guys can use this same talking. You can talk about this. You can say, well, let's see what we can do to solve our problem. And it is amazing to watch the children in 8 months go from toddlers to, I got this. I have the skills to be able to do this, right? So as we looked at the responses that we just talked about, right, none of them teach children how to handle conflict assertively, right? We're manipulating, we're, scaring them. And this may have taught them that they can't rely on adults for help, right? Well, that's not what truly, when I was a first year teacher, I remember children tattling, and I would say, did I do that? I'm like, no. I'm like, well, then why are you talking to me about it? You need to go talk to that person about it, right? And I'm like, missed opportunity, Miss Haas, right? And so we all make mistakes. We all have to rewind, right? And think again and go after it again. And so as we think about the responses, right, sometimes we foster a sense of helplessness, right? A sense of dependency, right? Because the adult fixed the problem. I always say to the kids, kiss your brain. You fixed that problem. You solved that problem. Way to go. Kiss your brain. Tell them thanks. Right? So they're not dependent on me or the other teachers to fix their problems. They may have learned how to give in, right? Okay, whatever. You just had a fit, so you win. We see that a lot from followers, right? They don't want to deal with the conflict, and so they're like, I'm out of here. I'm going to go play with somebody else, right? Rather than trying to problem solve through it, right? So I just think about how many times as adults we've given away something that we really wanted, right? Just to avoid conflict. I hear that often. Oh yeah, they don't like conflict, so no, they're just avoiding that. Well, it doesn't have to be a conflict, right? And that's the thing we forget as adults. It doesn't have to be a conflict. We can talk about it. We can talk assertively about it, right? So I just think that there's a better way to teach children how to live, right, than missing all their dreams. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first question, you guys, that we ask children when they tattle is, did you like it? And usually it's like, well, no, I didn't like it. That's why I'm tattling, right? But they can't say that to us, right? And it seems a little bit odd, right? But it is critical, right? For 3 reasons it's critical. Becky talks about that. She says, first, it helps us assess how much assertiveness energy the tattler possesses, right? So that's the level of faith that the child has in the power of her words to influence others, right? I love that assertiveness energy. So it helps the adult assess how much of that the child has. The second thing is saying no has a great deal of assertiveness energy, and answering your question makes that energy instantly available to the child, right? Thirdly, we help the child focus on their feelings rather than on the other person, right? That goes back to the power of attention. This lays the foundation for self-control, right? We hear a lot, well, they made me mad, or my job, they just, it's like, wait a minute, whoa. We've got to own this. We've got to own our feelings and stop blaming others. And that's why children blame others. This is because we do as adults. But if we can stop that and be able to say, okay, wait a minute, I got to focus on my own feelings about this. I statements, right, that we talked about last week. So when you're a child, when you pose them that question, say, did you like it? Notice how they respond, right? Because we're assessing that level of confidence. Is it high? Is it low, right? If it's high, if that child has high confidence, then you say to them, well, go tell them to stop it. I don't like it when you take the trike from me. I don't like it when you hit me, right? You're having the child practice the power of attention. And you can go back and look through a video for that. You're having them practice the power of attention by telling the other person what they want them to do, right? Most of the time we just need to know what the other person, we assume we know, but we don't know because they haven't said anything, right? Or we haven't asked. So if the confidence is low, if we assess that a confidence is low, then we need to teach the child the words to say, right? And the tone of voice to use. We have a book that we use called Schubert's Big Voice. It's not a loud voice, but it's a big voice. I don't like it when you push me. That hurts. I fall down and then I don't want to play with you anymore, right? And then the most important thing is being able to help that child understand, right? Because sometimes you're like, oh, okay, I won't hurt you anymore, and they walk away. And then we have to be there, right? That guidance piece to be able to say, so this is what Jenny's feeling. What are you feeling right now? How do you feel about the trike, right? Because if you just say to the child, like I used to, well, I didn't hit you, go back and talk to the child that hit you, right? If that child is passive, right, in their temperament, and we say go talk to them, they're probably going to get hit because there's probably a bully out there that they're going to try to say that to. So my job is to teach them how to have a big voice, right, and what the words are. We have a really big buzzword going around that says use your words, use your words. We tell the children use your words. Well, what does that even mean to them? We have to teach them the words to use, right? So as the children grow, right, we have to learn how to vary our sophistication, right, depending on their level of development. It's not what I'm going to say to an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, but I am going to say that to a 4- and 5-year-old. And then I'm going to grow in my sophistication as I chat and talk with children about this is how we can solve this problem rather than tattling, right? So let's do it. Let's get the 3 things out there, right? Ask them did you like that, if we hear a tattle, and then assess, and then saying no, right? Helping them understand that, no, I don't like it when you do that. And to help the child focus on their feelings rather than the other person and placing the blame on them. So go team, we can do this. We're all helpers. We can help children this week as we think about tattling and how to better respond to that this week. Thanks for joining. Give it a share if you feel like it might help somebody else. We just all need reminders to help us keep parenting. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great week.